أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ومولاي يا رسول الله، وعلى آلك المظلومين. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ومولاي يا أبا عبد الله، لعن الله الظالمين لكم، يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. صلوات. The last few nights we've been speaking about what the human being is made from. We said that he is part physical and part spiritual, and that the physical affects the spiritual and the spiritual affects the physical, and sometimes the problems in the human being will not be solved just by reading the Quran or praying. Sometimes the problem is actually physical, and that to grow, both need to grow together, and one cannot grow without the other one. Two, any act you do also has an effect in the spiritual realm, good or bad. There's a spiritual realm as well as the physical realm. Everything we do here manifests itself in that realm. That realm, imagine it as being empty. The prayers that you pray, you're building heaven for yourself, the spiritual realm. At the same time, any evil act you do, any bad act you do, manifests itself in that realm. We have narrations that say that when we commit evil actions, black dots appear on our hearts. And when we have good deeds, white dots appear on our hearts. Sometimes if we do too many sins, if we commit so many sins that our hearts become completely blackened, then it's very hard to come back to righteousness and to guidance. If you notice in Karbala, when Imam Hussain alayhi salam is talking to the army, many times they're saying, we don't understand what you're saying. Shimr is saying, I don't understand. He can't. His heart has been so blackened, he doesn't actually understand these words of righteousness that the Imam is talking about. It's something that we have to be aware of. Every act we commit in this realm has a spiritual manifestation. I'm saying this to highlight what I'm about to tell you now. If you commit actions that are halal, but that give you pleasure in this world, and you become attached to those things, food or drink or intimacy, they're good things, and you feel pleasure from them. But if you connect to them in a way that you become so attached to them, you become a person of the earth, and slowly you begin to forget about the sky, the immaterial world. You become a person of the physical world, because all your pleasures are associated with this world. So slowly you begin to fall in love more with this dunya. And this dunya, this world is the lowest realm. That's why it's called dunya. Dunya means low. Dunya. This world is the lowest. If all our pleasures come from the physical world, and we begin to depend on it and rely on it wholly, then we become people of the earth. Likewise, if we face hardship, we will resent this world. For example, if you were to move to a city, and in that city you faced hardship in terms of loneliness, in terms of difficulty paying the rent, you didn't like the people there, hard to get by with electricity and water, you begin to resent that place. You will want to go somewhere else. And if your body can't go, your heart will go. You remember where you came from, where your parents are, where your family is. You remember the better times. You'll be living in this city, but your heart will be back home. The same way, we're in this world. Allah brings hardship to us because He wants to turn us away from it. This is the philosophy of bala and hardship. He doesn't want us to fall in love with the physical world and the physical realm and to be people of dunya. So there's this hardship around for us to get through, so that our hearts are somewhere else, our home with Him, in the other realm, not dependent on this dunya, so that our pleasures don't take us away in this dunya. We have narrations from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. He says that Allah has such disregard for the unbeliever that if he asked him for the whole world and everything within the world, He'd give it to him. Because it's nothing, it's dunya, it's very low. There's another narration that says, Jibreel came down with the keys to the world and all that's within it, and offered it to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he told him, even if he takes the keys, nothing will be taken away from his station in the afterlife. But because the Prophet felt so humble, because of his humility in front of Allah, he rejected it. And he chose poverty. Out of choice. He would have lost nothing. But again, dunya is nothing. It's not a gain. It didn't make a difference to him. So he rejected it. Because he says, الدنيا رأس كل خطيئة. حب الدنيا رأس كل خطيئة. The love of this world is the head of every wrong. The pleasures in this world make us love it more. Begin to rely on it more. Begin to depend on it. Begin to become people of dunya and the earth. That when we want something, we'll do whatever it takes to get that thing. Even at the cost of the afterlife. Because we're not people of that world anymore. We're people of this world. That's very dangerous. It's good to know. And it's good to remember that the head of every wrong is the love of this dunya. And that this world is not the place to say who's going to heaven and who's going to hell now. There's no reward and punishment right now. Right now is the separation between the good and the bad. Here is not hell and here is not heaven. It's the separation between the righteous and the unjust. The oppressors are oppressing right now. It's the separation. And what separates us? What separates us is the struggle. To struggle, to strive, to do jihad against this nafs and against hubb dunya is the line of separation. And the higher one's aim is, the harder the obstacle will be. The more faith one has, Imam al-Qadim alayhi salam tells us, the more faith one has, the more iman, the more bala. It's like life is like a scale. You'll always have more hardship the more your faith increases to test it. The same way when you want to go to the gym and you're benching 225 and then you can do 20 reps of it, so then you move up to 250. You're getting stronger, so you want to test that strength. Same way, your iman grows, so does the hardship to test it. The higher the aim, so those who are waiting for Imam Mahdi, Ajalallah Farajul Sharif, he is the highest aim, so if you're waiting for him, you're going to face the toughest obstacles, the toughest bala. And you'll never find anyone that doesn't have hardship in their life. You'll never find anyone only goodness. You'll have happy days and you'll have sad days. Life is 2 days, one for you, one against you, in the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So you're going to have hard times and good times. Some people, yes, they go through harder times. But we're in a struggle, we're in a war. We're in a war. In Dua al-Iftitah, Imam Sajjad, in Dua in Shahr Ramadan, we read that dua every night. There's نشكو إليك فقد نبينا وغيبة ولينا وقلة عددنا وكثرة عدونا. We complain to you, Lord, that our Prophet and our Wali are not here. And that we are so small in number and our enemies are so great in number. What's he talking about? It's a war. There's a struggle going on. There's a war going on. Something hard is supposed to be happening. So why aren't we feeling the struggle? If we're not feeling the struggle, we're too close to the earth. You're supposed to feel struggle. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be hard. See, they see the difference between the slaves now and the slaves back in the day is that the slave in the past knew he was a slave. These days, the slaves are driving BMWs. They don't know, but they're brainwashed to think that everything's okay. Brainwashed by films, by music, by certain books. I was recently getting my hair cut, and when I was in the barber shop, they had the music channel on, and they were showing what the new music that people listen to now. So I thought, let me see what's going on, what people are listening to. And then that woman from the Disney Channel, she grew up now, Selena Gomez. Yeah? She had a song, she grew up, okay. She had a song, and I saw the name of the song, and it said, if you're ready, come and get it. So I was like, okay, that's really bad. I went home. My cousin, she was 8 years old. She walked by me, and she was singing, if you're ready, come and get it. And I thought, whoa, brainwashed to the max. Now, my cousin has no idea. Innocent child, watching TV, she hears the song, she sings it. When she's 16 years old though, those words are still in her mind. Then when she speaks to boys, it's still in her subconscious. It's still in her subconscious. When we say don't listen to music, this is why. It's brainwash. It's brainwash. The books you read, the people that are around you. There's a war going on. There's a war going on right now. And we have to have weapons for this war. Imam Ali alayhi salam in Kufa, he would tell the people that left him, Ya shabiha rijal wa la rijal. Oh, you who look like men, but you're not men. لوددت لأني لم أراكم. I wish I had never seen you. That's how hurt he was by them. Imagine the Imam telling us that. Imagine Imam Mahdi telling us, oh you, people who look like men, but you're not men.
Justin Bieber.
How hurtful. But if we're not even in the struggle, then we're doing the same thing as those people did when they left the Imam. So what are the weapons that we need for this war? We're going to remember one weapon today and one weapon tomorrow. The first weapon, Tawakul. To rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a huge weapon in this war. In this war against yourself, this war against the brainwash, this war is jihad al-nafs that we must feel, the struggle we must feel. To remove the hubb al-dunya from our hearts, Tawakul. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala جعل التوكل مفتاح الإيمان. You know when we said Iman takes away doubt? So Iman brings you yaqeen. But before that, Tawakkul opens it. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he narrates, التوكل كأس مختوم بختام الله عز وجل فلا يشرب بها ولا ينفذ ختامها إلا المتوكلون. He says that Tawakkul كأس, a sacred glass. It's a drink. He compares it to a drink, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. He speaks metaphorically when it comes to spirituality. He's telling you that this is a spiritual drink. If you drink it, you completely transform. It's that type of elixir. But you will never understand unless you drink it. You will only understand it if you feel it. Only. It's like saying to the blind man, asking him to tell you what red looks like. He's never seen red. Or explaining to him what red looks like. How would you explain it to him? Tawakkul is something you must feel. Something where when you let go completely and you hand over your affairs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, رب المشرق والمغرب لا إله إلا هو فاتخذه وكيلا. فاتخذه وكيلا. Take him as a wakil. Lord of the east and the west. No Lord except him. Wakil, you could say it's like, an attorney. When you hand over all your affairs to him, he takes care of everything for you. You do your part. You don't say, no, okay, I sit at home and Allahumma rzuqni and I'll get everything I need. You must do your part. The Prophet used to say, rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also tie your camel. You don't leave the camel and say, Allah will tie it for me. You do your part, but you must know that everything that occurs is in the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Knowing that, having that tawakkul is so powerful within itself. You know, we spoke about connecting to infinity. This is one of the ways to connect to infinity. When Nabi Musa alayhi salam was on that shore, and Fir'aun was coming with his army, and they were going to annihilate Musa and his people. And you would think, anyone in that position would think it's over. But the tawakkul that he had, Kalla inna rabbi ma'i, stamps the stick on the floor, the sea split into two, tawakkul. It's a very powerful weapon to have in this war. And it's also very powerful for our own lives and our own personal lives and our journey. We have to know that God wants what's best for us more than we want what's best for us. We have to have that hope. There is an American philosopher from the 18th century. His name was Ralph Waldo Emerson. I recommend the brothers and sisters, if you haven't read up on him, or read his essays, very profound. And he has lots of really useful quotes, and they come in line here. He says, do the thing and you will have the power. He says that your actions speak so loudly, I don't hear what you say. When someone keeps speaking about doing something, it's different than them doing it. He's saying, your actions do the talking. I don't hear what you're saying. I'll listen to your actions. They speak so loudly, I don't hear what you say. And this is the emerald. He says, do your work and I shall know you. Do your work and I shall know you. You look at what you have right now. Don't get overwhelmed and stressed by what must happen in the future. This job, this degree, marriage. Look at what you have right now and perfect what you have right now. If you think about it, the people who are successful nowadays, who became famous, they didn't plan this themselves. Look at YouTube. 15 years ago, there was no YouTube. Now, a lot of the successful people in the world are successful because of YouTube. But they didn't know that there was going to be a YouTube. All they did was perfect the skill that they had now, and they moved forward with it. If we are to have a vision of where we want to go, this job, this degree, we're coming forward to marry this spouse. We have a vision. We're going towards that vision. On the way there, doors are going to open. You don't get attached to the vision itself, to the result itself. You do your work. On the way, a door might open that you might like. You might go through that door, but you would never have attained the opportunity to go through that door if you didn't have the vision in the first place to go towards. Your vision is going to change year in, year out. The important thing is have the vision and go forward. You have to work with it. And don't worry. Don't think about the result, just do your taklif at the time. The Lebanese resistance, when Israel first took over in Lebanon, a group of them, a small group of them, they went and visited Imam Khomeini, the ones who started the resistance. And they thought that's it, that they're all going to attain Shahada. They didn't really think they were going to change anything, but that this is their taklif. This is what they had to do, this was the right thing to do to fight against the injustice. So they went to Imam Khomeini and they're telling him, but he told them, I see victory written on your foreheads. But they weren't working for the result. They were working, doing the taklif. The same way Imam Khomeini, in the beginning, in the early days, you wouldn't think that the Shah was going to be overthrown in Iran. There was no way. No one would have told you this would happen. He was doing his taklif. The men of God, the women of God, they do their taklif, they leave the result to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the same way. Now, in our personal lives. Now, we're not trying to make any revolution here, we're not trying to overthrow an empire. We're just trying to live our lives. In living our lives, we have to have this tawakkul, have that vision, go towards that vision. There are going to be opportunities on the way. Do your work, and I shall know you. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I've been getting asked by a few people about my own life and my own journey, so I thought I'd share the story today. A year before I went to the Hawza in Lebanon, I couldn't read Arabic properly. I remember I was sitting with my friend, it was Shahr Ramadan, and he was telling me, let's go to the mosque, let's go read some Quran, there's a Quran study group. And I was like, I can't read, so I don't want to go embarrass myself. He's like, no, come on, you can read, you know the letters. And I was like, And he dragged me and he took me. Okay. I went in, they were all 10-year-olds sitting down, reading the Quran. and I'm there with my beard. And one kid was like, and I sat down and began to read, and we were all reading at the same level. Okay, it was very humbling. I felt bad. I was like, you gotta start somewhere. So it was Surah Al-Mulk, I remember, and that's why that surah, it meant a lot to me those days. And my friend, he began to tell me about Dua al-Ahad. And in this time, we're trying to become religious, you know, we're trying to move away from this dunya, we feel really amped and inspired, and we want to leave, we want to grow. We want to grow towards God, we're making a plan, let's go to the Hawza. So now we're trying to learn Arabic. He starts telling me about Dua al-Ahad, the dua of allegiance to Imam Mahdi, that if you read every day for 40 mornings in a row, as reported by Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, then even when you die, you will be one of the Ansar of Imam Mahdi. Even when you die. So we began to read that dua, trying to learn Arabic, moving forward. We decided, okay, we're going to go. I graduated, I was at university at the time, I was doing journalism. Alhamdulillah, I graduated, saw a few documentaries, but I wanted to go to the Hawza. I got offered a job in Amsterdam. A job for an energy company, and they offered to allow me to travel to 17 different countries every year. And the pay was over 100 grand a year. And for someone who's 21 years old, I was really enticed by it. So I told my friend, you know what? Look, you go to the Hawza and I'll pay for everything that you need. And I'll pay for everything that you need. Don't worry about it. But inside me, I didn't feel, I still wanted to go to the Hawza. Now the catch to have the job was that I had to retract the documentary that I made that speaks against Israel. I made a documentary that talks against Israel. They told me it's difficult because there's businesses and some customers are Israeli companies. You know, we have to be diplomatic about this. Now I felt like a hypocrite if I was to retract the documentary after making it and telling people, you know, rise up. So in the end I couldn't take the job. I decided I won't take the job and I went to the Hawza. Much to the dismay of people around me, many called me ridiculous and ignorant and stupid for doing that. Come on, take the job, get married, live your life, there's nothing wrong with it. But I felt that it was wrong, and I left. I left everything with my friend and went to Lebanon and began to study. And the first year of studies were very difficult, because again, the Arabic, as you guys laughed at, was pretty bad. So we're trying to study. Many a times, honestly, I felt like I was studying Chinese, because it was really, Arabic is a very difficult language. I had so many problems with it. I just wanted to say one story. There was this one word, it's sarhan, sarhan. It means like dazing off, you know, sarhan. And so the friend that I left London with, his name was Hassan. I mean Hassan, everywhere we're together. You see Hassan, you see Hassan, you see Hassan, you see Hassan. So everyone knows us, that we're always together. And then we're walking in the street, and then there's the Kenneth Abbas, and she always sees us together. So Abbas comes out this day, Hassan's inside, he's getting what he wants in the shop. I'm outside just looking at the stars. Then Abbas says, where's Sarhan? Where's Sarhan? And I said, no, his name's Hassan, he's inside. And she started laughing, and I was like, what's so funny? And she told me. And I never forget the meaning of that word now. So it was a very difficult year, and this is someone trying to study Islamic texts, classical Islamic texts. This is in a very bad position. And then people in London are calling me back, come on, come home, it's been months, it's been a year. You proved your point, come back now, get a job. And I didn't know what to do, because I'm trying to attain this godly knowledge. I feel that this is the place to be if I want to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I'm not understanding the language. And then everyone back home is telling me, come back, come back. So I'm under a lot of pressure here. I remember I would stay at night in the library, just racking my brain. It would take me hours to get through something that would take the normal student just an hour. And then there was an African brother with me in the library, and he'd always say, you Lebanese guys, you don't know how to study properly. He's like, us Africans, we learn Arabic in 3 months. You put us in the street, we study. In the mountains, we study. Wherever you put us, we study. And he was a 40-year-old man. He had children back in Cameroon. And I'd look at him, and he would try to sleep on the book so God can give him knowledge sometimes. And And I'd look at him and think, wow, he's actually going through a lot more than I'm going through. I don't have children, and I'm very young compared to him. But he's being patient, he's having tawakkul. Then there was this very special boy. His name was Mahdi. Mahdi was my age, but he was blind. He would come into class, he would record every lesson, go home, listen to the lesson again. Next day, the teacher asks a question, who answers? Mahdi. The guy who knew all the answers, but he didn't have eyesight. When we had to read Quran, he'd bring us Quran out with the braille, and he'd read Quran. And look at him, tawakkul. When times for exams came, Mahdi would sit, he would say the answers. They'd ask him, he'd listen, and he'd say the answers. He'd speak them. It's very powerful to be around people like this. See people have so much tawakkul. I thought I couldn't leave. These people are going through so much more than me. I'm in such a better position. So I remember one night sitting in that library, trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And someone tells me, Allama Tabatabai, the legend of the Hawza, the one who wrote Tafsir al-Mizan, the Tafsir of the Quran. They told me he repeated his Arabic course 3 to 4 times. I thought, what? Allama Tabatabai repeated it 3 to 4 times? Yeah. I couldn't believe it. Like he went through the same thing I'm going through, and he became this big alim. Again, I thought, I can't leave. I have to try harder. As I walked upstairs to my room, I saw a letter someone posted right outside my room. And it was the letter from Allama Tabatabai. And I don't know who put that letter there. I was told about it just before I went up. The letter about how he grew. He talks about when he first started in the Hawza, he didn't have much energy to study. But that soon he felt an invisible hand take him and guide him. It was said that a teacher told him, if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. That hurt him so much that he went, he prayed the 2 sincerest rak'ats, and everything changed. He said it all changed to the point that he couldn't stop studying. He would study until sunrise. He would study everything the day before, so that when the time for the lesson came, there would be no misunderstanding, and he would understand everything straight away. I read that letter and I thought, this can't be a coincidence. I have to keep trying. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So I thought, this can't be a coincidence. I have to keep trying. And then a man entered my life, the man who I had been praying for the whole time. I would pray for a guide. His name was Sheikh Hisham Hammoud. He came to me and he spoke to me, and he had a Hawza in Jnoub, in the south of Lebanon. He told me to come there. So I moved. First I was in Beirut for a year. I moved from Beirut and I went to Jnoub. And he was the principal of the Hawza. So he's the head of the Hawza, and he would sit with me every single night and go through the studies slowly. How should we study? What to study? Going forward? Everything. The details would help me. And I thought the principal of the Hawza is giving this nobody some time. And I was so infatuated by the way he carried in his life, to the point that slowly I actually began to make a change. I didn't know how it was happening. As if God was taking care of all my affairs on His own. I would think back to where I came from, Tottenham, one of the worst areas in London, surrounded by drugs and violence, and think Allah took me from there, then He put me here with this amazing teacher and these amazing people all around me every single day. And I don't know how it happened. People ask me, how did you decide to go to Hawza? I said, I didn't decide, it just happened. It just happened. Because all you have to do is desire Him. Think sincerely, if you just desired Allah, what's to hold you back? He'll take care of it, He'll bring you to Him. Just have to desire Him. Just desire. Allama Tabatabai, at the end of his letter, he says this. I wanted to read it for you guys. I like reading letters if you haven't noticed. He says, Everyone has tasted the sweet and bitter of life in terms of his own experience. I, in my turn, have found myself in varied environments, faced with all kinds of hardships, especially since I have spent most of my life as an orphan or foreigner, or far from friends, or without means, or other difficulties. I always sensed, however, that an invisible hand delivered me from every terrible danger, and that a mysterious influence guided me through 1,000 obstacles towards the goal. Though I be a thorn, and though there be a flower to grace the meadow, I grow by the hand that nurtures me. When I was a child, my greatest fear was falling down in a plane into the seas and being the only one alive, and then being surrounded by sharks. That was my worst fear. So when I was told as a child the story of Nabi Yunus, that he was taken in by a whale in the sea, and I'd find grown-ups talking about it like it was true, that this magical story actually happened. You know, for a child, I remember I would think of Pinocchio when the whale took him and his grandfather. And I'm like, oh, this is true? Yeah, it's in the Quran. And grown-ups would talk about it, and it felt so magical to me and so many possibilities around it. But then, when I grew up, and I watched that film, The Life of Pi, I don't know if you guys have watched it. If you have, take your mind there for a second, because I want to bring the scenes from Life of Pi to the Nabi Yunus' story. Think of it with me. Nabi Yunus, he was a man who was a guide to a people. He was disappointed and became angry with those people, so he left them. He left them, and he joined a crew on a ship for the seas. But then those people threw him off the ship, and he was in the sea on his own. Now imagine that scene with me. Complete darkness, darkness of the sky, darkness of the sea. The sea and the sky are one. They're one now. No sound. Stars shine bright. No one knows you're here. Beasts of the sea surround you. If you were to scream, no one would hear you. And then a whale comes and swallows you. How scary is that? Very scary. The ayah comes down and it starts أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وذا النون إذ ذهب مغاضبا. The man of the fish, وذا النون they call it. إذ ذهب مغاضبا. He left angry. فظن أن لن نقدر عليه. It says ظن. Usually when we say ظن, we mean he thought so, or it's probably this way. Sometimes dhanna in Arabic means to know, to be sure of. Here, it's in the meaning of knowing and being sure. So it's فَظَنَّ. Yunus, dhanna. What did he think is definitely going to happen? What did he know? فَظَنَّ أَنْ لَن نَقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ. There's a difference in Arabic between lam and lan. Lan means never. It means never. فَظَنَّ أَنْ لَن نَقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ. Okay, what does he know that will never happen? Naqdira means to squeeze. To squeeze the rizq, the provision. So he's saying Yunus was 100% sure. Dhanna and lan naqdira alayh. He was sure that never will Allah squeeze the provision and rizq for Yunus. He was sure of it. He's in the belly of the whale, in the middle of the sea. But he was sure. Dhanna and lan naqdira alayh. So what did he do? فَنَادَى فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ أن لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. So he screamed out in the darknesses, in the dhulumat, there is no God but you, I am one of the oppressors. They called that dhikr Yunus. That whenever we're going through a tough time, go into sujood and say لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. You know dua Jawshana Kabir in Layl al-Qadr when we're reading it, سبحانك يا لا إله إلا أنت, it's from here, dhikr Yunus. So he says that. Nada fi dhulumat. He screamed out in the darknesses. Imam Rida alayhi salam says, those darknesses are three. The darkness within the whale. if Nabi Yunus was to make it out of the whale, he'll be surrounded by the second darkness. The darkness of the sea, probably drown. If he can make it to the sea, raise up to sea level, he'll be surrounded by the third darkness, the darkness of the sky. 3 darknesses, sky, sea, whale, but he screams out in the darknesses, knowing God will not leave him, knowing it. فَظَنَّ أَنْ لَا نَقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ فَنَادَى فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ سُبْحَانَكَ إِنِّي كُنْتُ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْغَمِّ وَكَذَلِكَ نُنْجِي الْمُؤْمِنِينَ صلى على محمد وآل محمد. So God says, we answered him and we saved him. And this is how we will save the believers. This is how he'll save us, inshallah, if we are to be believers. There's a poem by Andrea Gibson that comes to mind, which is, I know our wounds are as deep as the Atlantic, but every ocean has a shoreline, and every shoreline has a tide that is constantly returning to make the songbirds in our hands, to make the music in our bones, to place one brave kiss on the mouth of that river that runs through the center of our hearts to find its way home. Home. And home is with him. And all the troubles that I went through on my journey, I asked my friend, what should I do? And he told me, look at Dua Abu Hamd al-Thamali. And when he says, راحل إليك قريب المسافة. راحل إليك قريب المسافة. The one who travels to you is close to you in proximity. But he said, notice how he says راحل and he doesn't say musafir. Because the musafir is the one who travels, but one day returns, one day he comes back. Rahil is the one who goes and never comes back. He said, be a Rahil. Wherever you are, in Lebanon or in London, in the middle of the sea or in the middle of a mountain, wherever you may be, surrounded by foes or alone, you're a Rahil. You already left this place. There's no more hubb dunya in your heart. You're Rahil. You went to God. Wherever you are in the physical realm, you are here. But your spirit already left. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد فضل العباس walks into the tent. The children run to Abu Fadil. They grab him by the legs and pull on his trousers. العطش العطش يا عمّا. The thirst is killing us يا عم Abbas. Abu Fadil had such a pure and soft heart. He went to his brother, asked him, Ya Sayyidi, please give me the permission to go and fight. I can't take this world anymore. I can't take the screams of Sukaina
as she asks me for water. He said, Ya Abbas, how can I let you go? If you go, my army would scatter. Which army, Ya Hussain? Everyone's already dead. Could you have meant that Abu Fadl is himself an army for you? He told him, if it's a must, take this water container, bring back water for the children. But don't forget the flag. Abu Fadl al-Abbas went to the battlefield. He began to fight the enemies of Islam. They spread away from him, the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Abu Fadl fought so valiantly, the enemies would scatter. He reached the riverbed. He dipped his hands into the cold water. He brought the water up to his mouth and he stopped himself. Ya nafs min ba'd al-Hussain huni بعده كنت ولا تكوني هذا حسين وارد المنون وتشربين بارد المعين. Myself be firm, you are nothing of the Hussain. How can my master be thirsty and you want to drink? Never, I will never drink before Hussain and the children. Abu Fadl filled up the water flask. He made his way back to the tent. On his way back, they began to surround him with spears and arrows. They rained down on him with their swords. Abu Fadl would defend the water at all costs. A man comes from behind and he cuts off the right hand of Abbas. Wallahi in qatta'tum yamini inni uhami abadan an dini. Another sword swung down, cutting off his other hand. Abu Fadl began to kick at the enemies to defend the water. He's still running back to the tents with no arms, the blood dripping down all around him. As he's continuing to run, an arrow pierces his eye. He only has one eye, he has no hands, but he can still see the tents ahead of him, and he keeps running with the water. An arrow comes to pierce the water container. Oh, the water drips out. Abu Fadl stands in confusion. Abu Fadil collapses to the ground. Adrikni ya Hussain. He calls for his brother. Imam al-Hussain jumps onto the horse. He begins to go towards Abu Fadil. He notices the area with all the swords and spears, with a pool of blood and Abu Fadl Abbas in the middle of it. He walks over to Abbas. Abbas tells him, "Oh man, please don't kill me before I can say my final goodbyes to my master. Brother, it's me, Hussain." It's me, Hussain. For once in your life, call me your brother. He takes Abu Fadl Abbas's head and puts it onto his lap. Abu Fadl scurries off and lays his head to the ground. He does that 3 times. Ya Abbas, why do you move away from me? I don't want to say goodbye except with your head in my lap. He says, Ya Akhi, right now I am in your lap. Right now we remove the blood and the dirt from my face. But soon, in whose lap will you be? Who will remove the blood and dirt from your face? Abbas begins to take his last breaths. In his last moment, he tells the Imam, "Don't let them see me like this." His legs spread out, his shoulders spread out. Abbas takes his last breath in this world. Wa Abbas wa shahida, wa Abbas wa shahida. Imam al-Hussain goes back to the tent. He looks at Sayyida Zainab. She tells him, "Where is Abu Fadil?" He says, "Abbas rah, Abbas. Our protector is gone." The children come out. They think that he's back with the water. They were telling each other, "Don't worry, Uncle Abbas will definitely bring us the water." When they asked Sayyida Zainab, "Where is Uncle Abbas?" she didn't know what to tell them. Forgive me. Forgive me. Ya Zainab, I'm so sorry. I have one eye. I have no hands. I didn't want you to see me like this. I tried my best. Tell Sukaina to forgive me. سامحيني سامحيني، هذه آخر كلمة بينك وبيني. يم الأحزان حان الوداع، هذا حكم الله علينا جاري. سامحيني سامحيني، أرجو منك تقبلين اعتذاري. يا أبو فاضل The children scream your name. Ya Abu Fadl, you've left me in so much pain. Ya Abu Fadl, alone now stands Hussain. Ya Abu Fadl, اليتامى كلها تسأل. يا أبو فاضل عم شوف عنا تعتاب. يا أبو فاضل تحيرني